Welcome to the Carbitrage Podcast, episode 190. I'm Eric Berger, joined as always by my co-host Ryan Sinitsky. Hello, sir.
Hello, that's me.
Oh, welcome back.
Yes.
And we are out of winter for a fool's...
Until Monday.
What do you call it? A fool's summer?
Yeah.
Fourth summer?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like going to be 74 degrees and sunny today.
Yes, it's gonna be wonderful.
And then tomorrow, it starts getting into like the 50s, and then, Monday.
Yeah,
like
Monday
said,
just
it's
falls
like
off a
30.
cliff. I think I might have a fire at my house tonight. We bought a fire pit last week and then ended up not using it because it's way too windy.
I just stole my fire pit from people that moved to Texas, and it was great.
Mine was all of $30, so.
Very fine.
Yes.
Before we get into the topics, I want to quickly touch on patreon.com/carbitrage. What that particular website is, it's our internet presence for direct content support for content consumers like you to support content producers like us. If you head on over to patreon.com/carbitrage, you will find our two open-ended levels of support. If you'd like to help us out, buy us beer, that would certainly be appreciated, but certainly no obligation. Patreon.com/carbitrage. Moving right along to beer, I am sipping on a Paulaner Hefeweizen.
Ooh, it's a delicious fall beer.
It is, yeah. I'm not quite into stouts yet. But
I have a summer beer.
you really do. You're ready for later in the day.
I have a Bauhaus Brew Lab Short Pants Lemon Shandy.
It's a great name.
Yes, and I'm also, weirdly enough, I don't have a podcast koozie. I've got a podcast koozie, which is...
I also have a podcast koozie, but it is one of the most destroyed variants with the
you have the rarest one.
with the graphics.
Yeah, you have the rarest one where they just totally screwed the pooch before you finally with a different company that did it right.
Technically, they're all equally rare because I have 100 of each.
Yeah, but I feel like the podcast koozie is the one that's the most popular.
People really seem to like the podcast.
I think
koozie,
we might have to bring them back.
Oh God, go back to Vistaprint and just submit correct artwork. They'll find a way to screw it up.
Just take a picture of the exact one and give it to a real printer and be like, hey.
Use the good company. Like,
Yeah,
can you really mess this one up for me?
I need this to look just like the podcast version 1.0.
They're like, good God, why? I'm like, don't worry about it. Just come on, please. So anyway, you've got the first topic.
I do. So there is a new show on Netflix. It came out. It was Halloween last week, so as of the day we were recording. It's called The Haunting of Bly Manor. It's actually a really cool kind of like, it's not really, it's about, the ghosts are involved, but it's more than just that.
Not really my genre.
No, it's definitely, but it's more of like a whodunit sort of thriller sort of thing, but like ghosts are involved.
So the grammar's really good.
Yeah, it's pretty dope actually. But there's like a lot of like foreshadowing that happens in that show, and I'm kind of have some spoilers ahead. So if you don't want spoilers, like skip ahead like a minute. But so anyway, there's the bad guy. His name's Peter Quinn. His whole thing was he was embezzling money from the owners of the manor and stealing stuff, and he was their valet. And the reason he was doing that is he was trying to escape to America and leave England because he hates it. And so
He must have been in Sheffield.
yeah, so there's in the first episode, before you notice that, you see Peter's car in the very pull up first episode, first thing you see, and it's a U.S. market W124. And I'm like, okay.
Was that an early one or a cladded one?
It was it's in 1987, so
That's
it was
definitely early.
Yeah, it was an early one. But that's the thing is, so it's a USDM W124. You go, what the hell? Like, total oversight on this American company, obviously filming in New York.
No, see what it was it was stolen brand new in the States, shipped to Albania, and then it was stolen back to the UK.
Well, that's the thing is, Peter wants to go to America super bad. He's like super into American things. So the thing is that the USDM car foreshadows that he really wants to be American.
Interesting. So he did it on purpose.
Yeah, I think that was entirely an intentional
jeez.
thing because they did a bunch of little things like that are just like foreshadowing that only a few people will notice. I think that is the greatest use of a quote unquote wrong car for car casting. Because you know how Stranger Things famously has the 91 Volvo 240 that's forever in the background.
Stranger Things screwed up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they did.
They really did.
But like, yeah, no, the Haunting of Bly Manor, they really just nailed a bunch of little things, like all the way down to like when like certain styles of clothing were made, like they were available in September of 1987, not October of 1987. So like,
that
very,
is
very accurate.
unhealthy level of attention to
Yeah,
detail.
and so I thought it was super cool they used that car to foreshadow what happened. Anyway,
Was it a 260 or 300, or was it diesel or a gas?
you couldn't see from the back, unfortunately. But I did see that it had the fixed beam headlights. It had the wipers and everything. The gross little plastic surrounds. Even had the USDM front end where the bumper bracket goes on. They removed that and they didn't put the filler piece in, and they just had a license plate bolted in.
Oh.
Yeah. So because there's that, it's a little plastic piece that goes over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think that's actually like cast into the bumper, isn't it? Oh, it is on the later ones.
On the later ones. On the early ones, you can actually remove it, and there's two different ones you can put in. And if you don't put one in, you can still just screw the license plate in. It just looks like shit. And so they did just kind of like the screw it in. It sort of looks like shit. And like being the valet, he's not like super well off. So I think it's just like it's really good attention to detail. It's like he just kind of like got an American car and couldn't afford to do it correctly. It's really perfect.
Let's just be honest. The best American car is one that isn't American at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's well done, especially for the car casting. That was actually probably incredible attention to detail.
It really was, because like at first I was like, no way, a car's left-hand drive. What the hell? And then I look, go, that's American. And like every other car.
Zoom in on the radio and it's got like all the United States FM bands on it. Like, oh my God!
Well, it's because like all the other cars are like super well cast. So like the cook, he drives a MG Magnet and stuff like that, and just like all these like super British cars. So yeah, there you go. Haunting of Bly Manor. You will not be pissed off by that show.
Oh my God! All right. I mean, I'm personally not gonna watch it, but I do recommend that if you're into that kind of thing.
If you're into like spooky like thriller stuff.
Well, actually, maybe I will watch it like next Halloween, because I don't really have anything I want to watch on Halloween. People are like, watch Hocus Pocus. I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
It's honestly, it's not like a scary like ghost, like, oh my God, it's this horrifying movie. It's like really what it is it's more of like a whodunit, who stole these things thriller, but there's also a ghost that's thrown in there. There's also a gay love story, which is pretty cool. Yeah, pretty dope show.
So Modi's in it, okay.
Fantastic mustaches throughout.
Soup strainers.
Yeah, soup strainers. Oh yeah, they're great. So it's a good show.
You know where else you'll find fantastic mustaches? The East Coast.
Oh.
And on the East Coast, this is a horrible segue, I apologize, is Massachusetts.
Yes, it is.
I'm bringing them up only because, and I do mean only, because their political folks were actually able to pass 75% in a Right to Repair Act thing that's very significant for automotive applications.
Oh, that's so, because I know GM for a long time, they've been trying to make it illegal to modify their vehicles.
Yeah, they're basically just John Deere for the road.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's awesome. So that's actually really funny, because I think...
But anyway, the legislation basically is targeting like the ability for customers to buy tools and use them themselves to deal with the electronic facets of modern vehicles.
Massachusetts is a blue state. That's what I thought.
Well, of course it is. It's on the coast.
Well, also they did something good for people. So.
Well, yeah.
Anyway.
Oh my God. Well, we got what was it? We got 8 minutes in before we mentioned anything political.
Hey, so. I didn't talk about the thing.
That's
election.
Great.
Anyway.
I love how you avoided the name, and then you're like, the thing, the election. Like, great avoidance, Ryan.
I think we already talked about it, like, immediately.
But, I mean, this is a really great thing, because, I mean, this will afford, I mean, you're going to have really expensive tools like the Snap-on Solus that are going to be able to leverage this, but that stuff's going to trickle down, because all the encryption stuff has to be at least given out or for sale to companies that make the cheap tools.
And the other thing is that when you have people are probably going, well, what the hell does it matter if something happens in Massachusetts? It's the same thing of California has CARB. Well, that affects the entire country, because the entire country doesn't have to make they don't have to make cars to conform for California to sell in Boston.
Right.
But it's easier to have just one set of tooling than have to have two completely different computer systems.
Yeah, your 2014 C300 is going to have the same engine computer in Minnesota as it is in Boston, so you're going to be able to buy that tool that we got from Massachusetts legislation and use it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's huge.
And also, like, historically, when car companies have done the thing where they have two different sets of completely different emission systems,
it's gone real well for them.
Yeah, usually it goes pretty poorly. I think the only examples I can think of where they had a California emissions system and then a federal emission system where it didn't
Sorry.
really affect the car, was the CG Accord and then the Vanagon.
I just did it again.
Yeah, you did do it again.
Sorry.
Because I know in those instances, the CG Accord, it made no difference. It was just exactly which catalytic converter was in there.
Okay.
And with the Vanagon, it was just an extra capacitor in the idle computer.
So why would they not just do what every other manufacturer did, is make it 50-state emission compliant
Because
and then sell it everywhere?
in those particular instances, the Vanagon that we got across the United States also was the Vanagon that they got in Europe.
Okay.
So it was
All right, so they weren't actually
just-
making a new model.
They
were
weren't
just-
making a new model.
Okay.
They just had to modify it slightly to get it to meet California emissions.
Fine.
It was
that's
a one part that you plug in. But historically, every other car that's ever done that, like a lot of GM platforms and stuff like that, it's like a catastrophic nightmare. And then it becomes sort of a known quantity in the car as a used car.
Right.
And that begins to affect its ratings for like repairability for stuff like Consumer Reports. And that
Don't worry, I'm
negatively
sure.
affects the car.
Didn't have the was it the ignition switch or whatever that like every GM product
Yeah.
for 15 years had. Like, oh yeah, it could be fine, or it could start on fire while you're driving.
Or it could just turn the steering lock when you're turning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Was that GM as well?
That was GM, yes.
Oh god. I do remember once upon a time, yeah, there were a couple models that had like 3 really serious things that should have been recalled and they weren't.
Yeah. And then Mary Barra took over GM and she goes, "You did what?" She said,
And then she stopped selling all the cars instead of
Yeah,
fixing the problem.
exactly. She's like, "We're just not doing this anymore."
Oh god.
So, one of the other things I've noticed this week when I was trying to bury my head in the sand for most of it,
Same.
I noticed that there are, there's all pretty much all of the great Japanese cars from the 90s are available to import to America right now, with the exception of the R34 Skyline. You can get anything else.
Yeah, but it's like an early variation of something still.
Yeah.
It's like
And-
even an R33 is like, yeah, it's basically the same thing.
I was actually having a conversation about the R33. People were like, "Why don't people care about the R33?" I'm like, "It's bookended by better cars."
Yeah, it's the
Like,
E36
it's
and the E21.
It's the E36. It's the E21. It's the 280ZX. Like, it's a fine car.
It's not a
just
bad
not as
vehicle.
good.
Right.
Yeah, it's bookended by two cars that each do part of that car's job better.
Well, yeah,
the
they're
R34 is
objectively better.
yeah, the R34 is objectively better looking, and the R32 is better performing. So it's just that middle child.
Mm-hmm.
However, I noticed that there's still some really, really good values to be had. I've always been pitching the 3000 GT is. I'm sorry, I had a small stroke.
I was going to say, that was a TIA.
I've always been pitching the 3000 GT VR4 as one of those cars.
Uh-huh.
But I noticed this week that early Evos and early WRXs go for nothing still.
In Europe?
No, in America.
Well,
like imported.
Okay, I was going to say, oh, right. Oh,
Like, yeah.
But are you talking like an Evo 3 or
Yeah.
like, okay.
Evo 1, 2, and 3, the original GC WRXs.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where it's like, I can't really, they are unjustifiably cheap. Like, you can get,
It's a bold claim.
like, no, I mean, like, you can get the best Evo 2 from top rank international vehicle importers where everything's sorted, it's California compliant, you can drive it anywhere in the world, and you know that car's gonna be reliable enough to drive from San Diego to like Maine.
Sure.
And that's $22,000.
So cheaper than like a pretty clapped Evo 9.
That's cheaper than a clapped out R32, Evo 9, salvage title, Bugatti WRX. Like,
Yeah, what the hell's up with those?
I have no idea.
Actually, I'm like, there's no way these are worth more than like $3,000. And I see like $7-8 I'm like, are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
it's insane.
Thing's made out of rust and it barely runs.
Yeah, that's why I, like, at first I was like, all right, Subarus can be cool. And I'm like, all right, Subarus can be cool at about 60% of their price point.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
this,
just, you're not getting what you pay for there.
no, and it's like, I don't hate Subarus like you do. Like, I actually like them, but it's like, I don't like them for their price point.
I don't know if I ever talked about that legacy loaner I got, but that was the worst car I've ever driven in my entire life.
The worst car I've ever driven in my entire life was a Nissan Altima.
This is worse than an Altima. I've recently driven one of those.
Yeah, and so the Nissan Altima was the worst period car I've ever driven. Just like the most does nothing for me, but it was not the biggest letdown. We talked about that last episode. But
Well, the Altima at least had a decent stereo,
yeah, I guess.
and it didn't have a bunch of crap that turned itself back on no matter how many times you shut it back off, which was eyesight. That system. I shut 8 things off in the infotainment every single time I turned the car on.
Oh, yeah, you have to do that. Yeah.
And the engine was terrible.
Yeah.
And the handling was suicidal. The stereo was terrible.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
The seats looked like they were going to be amazing, but they ended up being a huge letdown.
If you get the highest trim level, the Subaru Legacy, I think it's the Limited, the 3.6R.
The better engine would help a ton.
Yeah, and so when you get the flat 6, it's okay.
But you still have the eyesight things, which
Yes.
it was constantly jerking the wheel, thinking I was going to crash, and just
I like freaking out the eyesight when I was working at Subaru. There were times I'd drive from Long Lake to the dealership with my hands completely off the steering wheel and just watching the car sway, swerve inside the lane like I'm a drunk.
that would be more enjoyable than trying to drive it.
Yeah, no, you don't try to drive it. You see how close it'll get to killing you without actually killing you. But anyway,
I didn't mean to derail that. Yeah.
No, it's all right. So with these Evos and WRXs, I would say that these are definitely a great investment car. Mm-hmm. If you were looking for a car that you can enjoy and that's going to appreciate in value, because this is the thing, these are the cars. People wonder why did we not have Supras? Why did we not have RX-7s, NSXs, all that stuff for the longest time? It's because the Evo and the WRX killed them. The Evo and the WRX outperformed them in every single metric, and did so with a 2-liter engine, which put them in a lower tax bracket.
And those were the good 2-liter engines.
Yes.
The early 4Gs and the closed deck 2-liter.
Exactly.
Those are actually reliable cars.
Yeah, so these are the best cars. And I think the only thing that kind of lets down the Evo 1, 2, and 3 is the fact they have relatively plain Jane body styling.
Yeah.
But
they're pretty bad.
But that's the thing. The 4 is coming available next year. Mm-hmm. I think it might be even this year. Yeah, and then you have the 5 and the 6. I think when those start hitting the market,
too, yeah.
Those are going to really be where they hit their stride. Because the 5 and the 6 were the ones, those are the ones with the big taillights in the back that didn't just look like a Mirage.
Well, they kind of still look like a Mirage.
They did, kind of. Not as much. But those are the ones where they're really going to be much more desirable than the early ones. I think that the early ones still are something to invest in now because they're still a very sought-after car. And
I still think I'd take an Evo 3.
I think mine would probably be the Evo 5. That would be the one before they went to the USDM body style with the Evo 7. And the 5 and the 6 are pretty similar. They just changed kind of the front end.
I was going to say the 6 was still pre-US style,
yeah.
too.
And the 5 is kind of my favorite, though.
Sure. That was probably the most refined old style car.
Yeah, it was. And then with the WRXs, actually, I think that the early WRXs, if you were going to get a Subaru for an investment, would probably be your best bet. Especially if you were to get one of the weird trim levels like the Gravel Express, which is basically an Outback WRX.
That's a great name.
It's an awesome name, I know, right? But
what do you drive? I drive a Gravel Express.
But the Gravel Express is basically a Subaru Outback wagon.
Oh, it's a
WRX.
wagon?
Yeah.
Oh.
If you Google a Subaru Gravel Express real quick, and you'll see what I'm talking about. They're literally just a GC WRX wagon Outback.
Oh, yes,
with a bull bar and a fifth wheel on the back, like a tailgate mounted spare tire.
Talk about an unpretentious WRX. Oh my God.
Yeah, it says Gravel Express. They're pretty awesome.
Okay, this is as cool as a little red express truck.
Yeah, they're pretty rad, and they're all-wheel drive. I think 200 and I can't remember exactly how much horsepower. I think it's something like 240 horsepower.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. But yeah, you can see here, they're literally just an Outback Sport with a fifth wheel on the back and a bull bar. They're great. That'd be a great investment car. Then
if you could find one that's never seen anything that would make it rust.
And then they also say Gravel Express on the door, and they do have an entire paragraph describing what it is.
This photo is clearly from the early 2000s, so this is all of the pixels. But yes, it definitely goes most of the entire front door.
Oh, it is the entire front door. It says it's like single overhead cam turbocharged intercooled all-wheel drive manual transmission
symmetrical all-wheel drive.
Gravel Express all-terrain transport vehicle or something like that. Where it's just an entire English paragraph. So yeah, that one's definitely up there, and also the early WRX wagons also had the best WRX font, where it's in this like splash font. Looks like you got it
Oh,
off.
like a Sea-Doo W
Yeah, it is.
SPX or whatever?
Yeah, it is exactly like the Ski-Doo logos. Where
Ski-Doo or Sea-Doo?
I thought. Oh yeah, I guess it's Ski-Doo.
Sea-Doo.
I
was going to try to find the Fonty logo here.
Oh, if you type in Gravel Express, that's gonna be a little hard to find actually.
It's fine.
Yeah, I mean you can
get a
easily
good mental
Google it.
image
Yeah, you
from
can
that.
Google it. So and then you'll be able to find it. But yeah, I think these cars definitely slept on way too hard. And if you have $15,000, you can get either one of these cars in really good nick. I mean, there have been 4 that have sold on Bring a Trailer in the last year that haven't eclipsed the $20,000 mark.
Are those right-hand drive or left-hand drive?
Right-hand drive.
Predominantly, okay.
Yeah, so they're all right-hand drive. They're great. You have all the JDM.
Did they make an
funness.
LHD one?
I think for like some European markets, you probably could get it.
Okay.
So you could get an LHD one.
I don't personally care. I was just curious.
Yeah, but I think the right-hand drive, I've noticed, usually helps value with these cars.
Well, yeah, you can deliver mail with it.
Yeah, it's true. You could deliver mail with it. But yeah, so these are definitely something. If you're under $20,000 and you're looking for a fun car to invest in that will make you money, early WRX, early Evo, easily. That's top of my choice now. So.
Yeah, for stuff to import specifically, that's a pretty good answer. For stuff that we actually have here, I'm sure there's other good answers too. I'd still say second-gen Ford Lightning for an investment, but
Can you get those under 20 grand still?
yeah.
In like okay nick?
yeah.
That'd be up there.
Yeah,
So-
they really haven't. I mean, it's still. Let's be honest. It's like a '99 F-150 step side. So
well, we remember the Top Gear review of it.
Oh,
where he's
yeah,
like,
well,
look
that
at these
was,
panel gaps.
that was an aftermarket converted right-hand drive one. So a lot of those issues were caused by the converter. But let's be honest, it wasn't much better with the left-hand drive cars.
No, American cars weren't really known for their interior fitment until
Yeah,
about 2013.
I was gonna say I don't think we're even really known for it yet, but it's much better. than
Yeah,
used to be.
it was after the recession when everybody went out of business because of their interior fitment.
Why is nobody buying our stuff? I'll give
Because
you
you'll
5 questions.
You'll lose your credit card in between the panel gaps. You have to disassemble your
God.
entire dashboard.
What was it? I hate referencing DeMiro, but he did the Ghibli, and he used a travel-sized toothpaste to demonstrate the panel gap between the door panel and the B-pillar. You could fit a tube of toothpaste in the panel gap of this car, and that became like a test. I'm like, okay, I don't like this, but that's really funny.
That is actually pretty funny.
Anyway, tangentially switching topics. Chris Harris. He used to do Chris Harris on Cars YouTube videos. He actually, way back in the day, was an auto writer in the UK. He did pretty well for himself. Now he is one of the hosts of Top Gear UK.
Yes.
He is a notoriously very closely guarded family life kind of guy, but he did a 2-part video interview series with Jony Smith, who has his own thing called The Late Break Show now. He used to be part of Fully Charged, and he's done a bunch of other...
Okay, yeah.
he's a hugely popular automotive journalist in the UK.
Yeah.
I thought it was fascinating. I watched both of these, and I would highly recommend to our listeners that you do the same. Set aside about an hour for both. But Chris Harris...
Wait, an hour per episode?
No, they're about 27 minutes each.
Okay, so yeah, full hour all in.
Full hour with some advertising breaks, yeah. But Chris Harris, he talked a lot. The first section was kind of going over his history as an auto journalist, what it took to get into it, starting with the magazines, getting a column, working into, just like barely scraping by with these YouTube videos, then getting kind of a hold of Patreon and stuff like that. And then he talked about the process of replacing one of the big 3 on Top Gear UK. As well as commenting on the first series, which had Chris Evans on it, which he's like, that was really bad. But apparently he almost quit after season 2 because of like how many threats in his DMs he was getting. He's like, you're not as funny as Clarkson.
That's true.
I'm just like, well, it's true, but like he's also a better journalist. So I don't know, but it was fascinating. Like he did these interview segments in one of his storage sheds in the middle of like the Midlands, and like the zooms to the back of the shot behind them here, behind the camera, it's all caravans and like motorhomes stuck in like a mini storage.
It's hilarious.
But he's got a 512 TR back there. He's got an Evo 6 under the car cover. He's got a.
Is that a 512 TR? I thought that was a. Oh, it is a 512 TR.
I love those. He's got a 205 Rally behind the Evo 6.
I
He's
wish
got
he was
2
more
of those.
tasteful.
But his daily driver is a special ordered M2 competition 6-speed, which he
really
ordered with non-tinted glass, which had to be special ordered because he hates gangster glass. I'm just like, okay, that's hilarious.
This guy's awesome.
Yeah, and his daily driver is a 991.2 GT3 Touring 6-speed in speed yellow.
Very cool.
And it's parked just behind the camera here. He opens it up, and it's just daily driver. Like, there's trash everywhere. There's a dog bed in the passenger footwell. His dog is sleeping in it. There's, like, muddy footprints all over the interior. Like, this super rare, sought-after manual GT3.
And he's just
destroying this car. He's like, yeah, the dog ate the gear lever on the M2 last week, so I've been driving the 911. I'm like, awesome.
Perfect.
Then they come back to his house, and they go over a lot of the stuff. He's like, I probably shouldn't have sold half the stuff that I had and sold. Like, he had a 997 GT3 RS 4-liter, which he bought brand new and made money on.
This guy's really into his Porsches, isn't he? Ugh.
Well, he is, but then the only cars in his driveway are BMWs. So he's got a Euro E28 M5 he bought 14 years ago for like $6,000. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. He's
got an E34, so a 94, 95 5 Series wagon.
Okay.
That was like, oh my God, that's an M5 Touring. But no, it's a 525i that somebody else transformed into an M5 Touring.
That's awesome.
And he bought because it was cheaper than the options he wanted on an RS6 Savant. Just the options. So the seats and the suspension on that car cost more than the E34. It's like, why wouldn't I just do this?
Yeah.
Then he's got the M2 and...
well, also, it's an Audi, which...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He is a Porsche guy, but he said the only regret car he had, like he had an early 2.7 Carrera Cup lightweight. He's like, that's the only car.
Actually very cool.
Yeah, but like all he has now is BMWs and that GT3 Touring. But it was fascinating. He loves the R129.
Wonderful.
I've just never heard anyone else say that.
Yeah, no, that's honestly a great car. The only people that don't like the R129 are people that have not driven an R129.
Or even like looked at one. Like it's a really handsome car.
If you really pay attention to the R129, that is a great car. It's like an objectively great car.
And he was even specifically talking like he saw one on Auto Trader UK that was like cheap. It was an early 280. Which we didn't even get here.
Yeah,
it's the rubbish one, but I wanted it so bad.
Was it manual?
280 probably was.
Yeah, as I say, like that would be like the one to get.
Every time a 300 SL24 5-speed comes up for sale, I'm like, God, I should buy that.
You really should. Absolutely.
But then I didn't, and I bought a Fiata, and I have really no regrets from that. But just it's fascinating listening to somebody that is that well established and's been around many, many, many years longer than I have just in cars, and we've got like such similar taste. It's kind of nice. He has a BMW 1M.
Yeah,
that's one of his
very cool.
favorite daily drivers.
I think I like his taste in BMWs more than I like his taste in Porsches.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not sure if you have this happen to you, but the more well-known an automotive personality is, the more you discriminate on their car taste.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, because I'm like, the only automotive personality that's like at the top where I 100% approve of their taste in cars and that they can actually back up their taste in cars more than just subjective because I like it is Jay Leno. I can't think of anybody else that like has like a car collection where they're like, I'm just like, this is a perfect car collection. Like,
it's hard to hate on it because even if you don't like what he's featuring right then, you see in the background something you love. You're like,
exactly, and that's the thing is like every car he has, like I understand why he has that car. Like I don't like the muscle cars, but I get it. Like there's a reason for it.
Yeah, like there are some interesting things about some of them.
That's the thing is all of his cars have something interesting. It's not like, and my issue with like when people just get like, I want every variant of a 911 is like you have the exact same car with different headlights and a slightly different suspension tuning.
And maybe a different connecting rod in the engine.
Get one, you're fine. Like you need like one, maybe two.
Pretty much.
Unless you have a bunch of race cars, then you can have several. But like if you're just like going,
I'm kind of guilty of this though.
But that's the thing. Your cars are all different though.
They are, but like I've got 3 E30s. Let's be honest, they're all motor swap cars. They're really similar.
But you also have an E30 M3. You have an E30, a right-hand drive E30 wagon. Yeah. And then you also
just
have
like a really clean regular E30.
And then a regular one. So it's not like I have a GT3 and I had a GT3, and before that I had the predecessor to a GT3.
And then I had a GT2.
Yeah, like
and then I had an RS.
It's like when I hear people and they're like, yeah, I had a WRX and then I bought an STI And I bought an Evo for a little bit, but now I have another WRX. It's like, oh my God, there's more than just WRXs. Like, there's more than just that. Like, branch out, enjoy the world of cars. Like, there's so many cars. We only have so long in our lives, A, and B, in which you can actually drive a, like, internal combustion engine car that, like, don't spend it driving the same car. Like, I love EF Civics. I'm not going to own just EF Civics my entire life.
Or even, like, very similar other Civics.
Yeah, I'm not going to, like, I've owned my EF. I owned a CRX. Like, I want to own an EG just because I want to get an EG. But I'm not going to, like, sell all my other cars and just get those. Like, even now with, like, my predominantly Japanese car collection, I'm looking to expand beyond that. Like, I'm very seriously considering bidding on a Dodge Murata on Bring a Trailer. I'm looking for a back to the 50s car. I want to get something European. My next daily driver will likely be a Fiat 500.
Oh, heck yeah.
So, like,
what a good car.
Yeah, it's so, like, I want to import a Twingo. Like, there's so much more in the automotive world than just one type of thing.
Right.
And I think that's my only issue.
Even just
with
like
Chris Harris.
like a 60% focus, which is I think what he is, because like
Yeah.
like I mentioned, he's got multiple like 205 rallies, which are super rare cars. He's got a 2CV. He's got just sheds full of old broken French shit.
so he's got other things.
Phantom, Arnage.
Okay, so that makes more sense now. So because like when you first describe him, you're like, oh, he has this portion, that portion, the other
presented
portion.
it badly,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Okay, so if he's got other things, I thought he's just like, yeah, I've got 100 Porsches. They're all the exact same car.
I think he has
also
two.
I've also got cool BMWs. Like that's how I'm like.
Yeah, I think he has disproportionately owned more Porsches, but
Yeah, and so like I can understand owning more of like one brand. Like in my lifetime, I will likely own more Toyotas than I will of any other brand.
well, and he said like he views a car purchase as like a data point where you buy it, use it for a year, and sell it off, which is what like the Phantom was. That's what all of his GT cars were. And like I get it. I mean, you have some long-term hold stuff, but like that's something I actually should consider. Like use something for a year, and then just even if you love it, get rid of it, and get something else.
That's from a little. I have trouble with that because when I look at classic cars in particular, it's very hard for me to say I want to get rid of this. I want to like just use it and enjoy it because I want to be like, you know what? There's you can't just like get to know a car in a year. Like there's stuff in my van that I'm like just discovering are weird quirks about it. Like now, when I've had that car for 4 years,
I barely even get something fixed in the first year.
Yeah, like so it's one of those things where it's, you know, yeah, you can have it in the first year, but you don't get to know the car.
Well, and we have the luxury of not having to get rid of the car either.
And that's true. And I think another thing that's also very important about cars is daily drive it as much as you can.
Oh, 100%.
Like whatever car you have, if you own it at all, use as much as you can. Not because cars, you know, should be used, this, that, and the other thing, but no, like if you own it, you want to get to know it. It's like looking at artwork. You're not going to just like buy the Mona Lisa and walk past it. You're going to buy the Mona Lisa and actually look at it because you want to know the weird things about it.
Right.
You don't want to just say, I've got the Mona Lisa. Like, no.
I was investigating the lower brush strokes on her cheek today. And
but I mean, like, for real,
Right.
like, that's like, you're actually going to get joy out of it by experiencing it. And with a car, you experience it by using it. In all ways. On weekends, in traffic, in the McDonald's drive-thru, wherever you want.
Oh, I've taken absurd stuff through drive-thrus.
And that's the thing. Is like you need to be able to do that with your car. Like when I owned a Duesenberg, 100% guaranteed that shit's going through a drive-thru at some point. Like without question, that's gonna have a burnout done in it in front of a bunch of donks. Like I'm gonna do hilarious things with my car because I want to enjoy my car. Like so, I do appreciate him. He does have good taste in cars, except for the 512 TR.
I love the
a bit
512
rubbish.
TR. He said he wanted either a Testarossa or a TR, and this one came up first.
I would get the Testarossa.
I would get the TR.
No.
Much better looking car.
Anyway, so speaking of the 512 TR, my only issue with that car is the front end and the front bumper in particular. And there's a lot of cars actually that have this issue where the front bumper is not that good.
I own one. Well, I don't own it, but there's one in my garage at home.
Yes, there is one in your garage at home that's an example of this. I want to talk about what car do you think looks best with the bumpers removed? Conversely, what car looks worst with the bumpers removed?
So this is a tough one, but the car that looks best with the bumpers removed is the 1974 to 1976, specifically BMW E10 2002. Because the
Yes.
crash bumpers stuck out like a foot in the front because the front end of the car is at like a pie-shaped angle, and they needed it to be a certain distance from the frontmost part of the bodywork.
It's just like way
So
over
like
here.
there's just two bumper shocks that stick out, I shit you not, like a foot.
Literally, no, you're not exaggerating. It is literally a foot because you also have to think about the fact that it also has to be able to absorb 5 miles an hour of impact before it damages the bodywork.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, it's like you get
It's
4
hard to
inches of
find a
compression and like 8 inches.
Th-
Yeah.
Wait, there's one. Right there.
Oh yeah.
Look at that. That guy mounted his fog lights, and I'm genuinely concerned because all of the wiring for his fog lights are completely exposed to the elements.
Pretty
There's
much.
nothing to stop that.
But
rain
very
from
easy
getting on
to
that.
install the wiring.
Yeah, I mean, you can sit down, you can take a nap.
But
It's great.
just converse. I mean, the early cars, how the body was intended to be looked great, and that looks terrible.
I'm gonna go with my old standby of the worst looking car that turns into the best looking car, the Datsun B210.
Let me Google it. Oh, interesting. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that car looks like an absolute butthole with its bumpers on. I hate those bumpers. And then as soon as they're
Oh,
removed,
there's a photo of the bumpers.
those are just tragic. it's the same thing where it's the
That was a
sharp.
car that was engineered to not have them.
No, not at all. And then they just put it on, and it sticks out a long ways. You can even see where the Japanese bumpers would sit.
Yeah.
But if you look up now, if you go back and you just type in, if you add race car after Datsun B210, you'll see them without bumpers, and they look great.
The internet is not behaving
You
well.
just type in.
Oh, this one's got like Japanese bumpers.
Yeah, but I mean, just like we're talking about like, bumpers removed, not adding other bumpers.
There we go.
That one's got bumpers.
Does
Those
it?
are Japanese bumpers.
Fine.
But anyway, you can see vaguely, kind of. Jesus
I have
Christ, the world-
exclusively found the world's smallest photos today.
Yeah, really. But anyway, so you can see what they would look like without the bumpers on, because this is so small you can't even see the bumper on
So
it.
smooth.
But when you remove the bumpers on, they suddenly turn to an objectively good-looking car.
Yeah, I don't like how dinky the wheel wells are, but it fits that style of Japanese very well.
It's the 1970s.
I know.
Like, and
You're
that-
running a 13-inch four-spoke wheel. I get it.
Yeah, you're right. A 13 by 14, with 13 by 14 squares, like
Over square.
yeah, over square, like 4-spoke wheel, like named after call it a Bilbo or something, or like a Hakasuka Hyper Mesh 12 Extreme.
Trying to think of what car, conversely on the first point, which one looked like pulled off the DOT bumpers the best?
DOT bumpers being pulled off the best.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna say the G50 Porsche 911
Those, yeah, because actually,
or the
It became-
Pantera.
it became a trend actually to put on like 911 style bumpers on 914s, and they would do the G50 style bumpers where they have the little wrinkly things on the
Yeah,
sides.
the accordions.
Yeah, the little accordions.
I'm sure those accordions fail, but I think they pulled it off the best just because they did that.
MX-83 Cressida, I really like the massive bumpers on my Cressida. I actually like the massive bumpers on my Cressida more than the small bumpers on the Japanese version.
Well, it's a big car, so I could see that not
Yeah.
being quite as offensive.
It sounds offensive, and also it helps the standard bumpers. It's, you know how I really hate when a car just kind of gaffs on a 90s style look onto otherwise 80s car. Why I hate the 512 TR.
Yeah, you look at the front, I'm like, oh, it's a 350.
And then you look at the back, and you're like, this is a Testarossa. You look at the front, like, this is two different cars. Like, they obviously designed this later.
I love it.
That's what I hate about it. But anyway,
Oh, it's so good.
so
90s
on
Ferrari.
the Cressida is weird because it was that era where they were trying to get rounder, but they weren't totally
They
devoted.
weren't committed to
Yeah,
it.
they weren't like they didn't go full boat until like the second generation Ford Taurus or third gen Taurus.
God, the radio head unit in those cars.
So bad.
So offensive.
But the MX-83 Cressida, the bumpers, especially the rear bumper, they were too round in the Japanese version, and they squared them up a lot in the American one, so it looks way better. But I want to talk about what car do you think looks best with the bumper, or looks worst with the bumper removed? Like when people just remove the bumper off a car and it just looks like a butt.
Oh, I am not prepared for this, so if you have an answer, please go.
I'm gonna say tentatively, any Lamborghini, any modern Lamborghini, where people remove the bumpers.
Oh, for the twin turbo kits or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not even just talking DOT crash bumpers. You're talking just bumpers removed.
Bumpers removed.
Oh, G35.
G35.
Oh.
Yeah, people do that on the rear, don't they?
Oh, they do
Yeah.
it on the front and back because they put these metal homebrew like electrical conduit bash bars on that don't actually do anything.
I think you might be right. The G35 with the bumpers
You
removed.
can't even tell what the car is with the bumper off on the
It really looks terrible. Yeah, I think actually,
it's like 20 inches high, so like you need it.
yeah, it literally is like half of the car that you've now removed.
Yeah, those two bumpers are half of the surface area of paint on that car. So
I think I think I have to agree with you. Like the Lamborghinis of any sort look like butt. Hey, there's that Murata I want to bid on.
you're gonna be so poor someday.
It's really cool.
Is that a Fairmont?
No, it's a Dodge. But so this is the thing with the Dodge Murata. You know how I've never owned a car over 200 horsepower?
Yeah.
So this way I could own a muscle car and still never own a car over 200 horsepower.
It's an auto.
Oh, that's not the worst part. Scroll down a little bit more. A little more. Read the first sentence. Read the first sentence.
The 5.2-liter LA Series V8 came equipped with a Carter 2-barrel carburetor and was rated at 130 horsepower and 230 foot-pound of torque when new. The air conditioning compressor and the radiator were replaced in 2000. Okay, you don't need that part. 130 horse, 230. 5.2. That's the same engine they put in like Jeep Grand Cherokees in the early
terrible.
90s.
Yeah, it was awful.
And they're very good potential, but
that's kind of why I'd want it. If I were
so
to
is that
get
a 318 then?
Yes.
Okay.
So if I were to get this, I would, obviously take the emission stuff off of it and make it be about maybe 200 horsepower.
Torque. Oh, so it's a 727 3-speed.
Yeah. So it would.
I like the wheels, I gotta say.
Those are alloy wheels. They're pretty rad. Also, Richard Petty raced one of these.
I really hate this car.
Richard Petty raced one of these in NASCAR, and I would totally do a Richard Petty vinyl wrap livery on it. It would be hilarious.
Good Lord. You and I have very different automotive taste, and I think that's fine.
I know. I'm perfectly, acutely aware of how dumb that is. But I just think
I like a lot of dumb stuff, too, so I think it's fine.
my price point on that car, if it passes $5,500, I'm going to quit bidding. But if I keep it under $5,500.
Including or excluding buyer premium?
Including.
Okay. So you got to be getting real close even right now.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know what the premium is on $4,500, but it's got to be $500.
It's 5%. Also, I'm an employee of Brain Trailer, so.
And?
So anyway, moving on.
So you don't have to pay the buyer premium?
I'm not sure. I know it's pretty low, but.
So I feel a little bit dirty bringing this up just because it's very much a you topic, but Persang isn't the only company. Wow, that was weak. Persang isn't the only company making a Type 35 replica anymore.
Wow!
So back right when the Type 35s were new, the owner of Bugatti wanted a version for his 8-year-old son. So he had a half-scale baby, they called it, Type 35 commissioned, which was a perfect replica in half scale, and it was lovely.
Like, did it even have an engine?
Yeah, it did. It was electric.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, in the 1920s, that was really, really cool.
That's really rad.
And a lot of people buying the actual Type 35s wanted the same thing, so he ended up making 500 of those.
That's super cool.
Which is really neat. And now, Bugatti actually commissioned, I don't actually remember what company's doing these, but there's a third party that got licensed to do a 75% replica of a Type 35. And Jony Smith, the late Break Show guy, just did a behind the wheel with one of these, and as a 6-foot-plus adult, you can fit in it, and it has a 14 horsepower electric motor, and it can do about 12 miles.
That's awesome. I want that.
Limited slip diff. It is amazing. I mean,
I actually really want this super bad.
So there's two options. There's a carbon fiber body version, and there's an aluminum hand rolled.
I do aluminum.
Yeah, it's $70,000 for the aluminum one, or $40,000 for the carbon fiber one.
Oh wait, what? Oh, I do the carbon fiber. Then
yeah,
it's cheaper.
because it's not hand formed.
Yeah.
But it's just awesome. I mean, they mimicked the font on everything, and that's just a model. But the actual, yeah, there you go. That's the real deal right there.
I love that. Oh man.
And yeah, everything, like it's all metal, and it's incredible. So it's got friction, friction shock absorbers. Like they found a company to remanufacture all that stuff.
So,
Oh, there's the original baby.
That's adorable. That's a very cute Ettore Bugatti. Or
So anyway, it's hard to hate the Type 35.
I love that.
And,
The Type 35 is one of the greatest cars of all time.
and I saw it, and I'm just like, okay, well, that's pretty cool.
We should eventually do like a list where we say what are our choices for like the greatest cars of all time, like the 20 greatest cars.
God, that's gonna be hard.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
we
same.
could probably distill
we have to. Do
We
that in
could
the
treat it
future.
like the Car World Cup, where we distill it
Yes.
down.
We have our 20, and we defend each one, and then
We'll
we
end
come up with.
2020 on a high note.
Yes,
how
we will.
about?
There we go. Yeah, because there's 20.
The
of
20
them.
best cars for 2020.
Maybe we'll do that in episode 200 since we can't have a panel on this year.
I think we'll end up doing 200 this calendar year.
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
So on episode 200, we'll do that.
That'll be fine. But anyway, I have never wanted a Type 35 more than that. And honestly, like, it's about $35,000 for the carbon fiber one. And like that, honestly, when they're going over all the stuff they did, I'm like, that seems like it's too cheap.
Perfect. I love
The
that
build
so much.
quality. I mean, it's legit what
the only-
Persang did to make the big ones.
The only Volkswagen I want. It's literally the only Volkswagen in the world that I want even a little bit.
And like there's two different trims too. There's a Vitesse and I don't even remember.
There's
but
trim levels.
One of them is like the race spec, and the other one is the civilian spec. So it has indicators and lights. I'm like, somebody's gonna road reg that thing. And
Oh
drive
yeah,
it.
100%. I would totally. I am person. I would do that.
It will do 42 miles per hour with the speed key in it.
Yeah, I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
I could use that because I live in St. Paul. I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to like leave the city.
It would be amazing.
This
and
this could be
you
my
could
new daily.
absolutely register that somehow. I
Yeah. Oh
guarantee
yeah. Absolutely. No, it's great. I love that
Go
so
to the
much.
DMV like, what is it? We can't register this. You don't have a title. I'm like, just come outside. Hold on. Come outside. You telling this car no, you can't road register me? Like, oh, it's so cute.
I wonder. Actually, I bet you probably could. I wonder if you could just like. I wonder how much money it would cost to just get like. We could probably just get like any crappy car VIN, just stick a VIN plate
Yeah,
on
'cause
it. and
that's
say, this is an
legal.
Altima.
Okay. Oh, cries an R34. Oh. So definitely we're not condoning anyone swap VINs on cars, but it is a thing that people have done in the past.
Yeah, I mean,
but
you could just make that Altima.
I guarantee if you found like a Model T road reg VIN and plate, no problem.
Yeah, this
No
would-
problem. That's
yeah,
a Model
easily.
T.
Yeah, that could easily be a Model T or something where it's like, if you could like modify it to like fit on that chassis
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
So,
anyway, I dig
that's
that
very
a lot.
cool. I'm a big fan of that.
Has a hot swappable battery pack, just a bunch of real cool stuff.
There's a lot of really cool like Euro market cars.
You can tell that quarantine people are bored as hell because this kind of shit keeps coming out.
And I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Smart people being bored is fine.
Yeah, so like I want to get this. I want to get the Nobe. If you can just Google that again, because you forgot what that looks like. I need to know. That's that Romanian car. It looks like it's from the 1950s.
Is it NOBE? I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Just say Nobe car. Or Nobe 100. Images.
Thank you. Images.
And look at it!
Oh, yeah, I do like
Ah,
this thing.
man.
It's so expensive, though.
I know, but they're really well made.
Yeah, but they're, well, and it is, oh my, dude, what, am I searching by smallest photo ever?
You must be. But also they're either rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive.
Yeah,
And they're three wheels. And they can do a three-wheel burnout.
it's adorable. I know.
Like, that's
I
a great car. Like, I want that. I
And
want
it's-
that really bad.
It's already road registerable, so that's a huge leg up.
God damn it, I really want that car.
Just
the question
get a-
is, do I want this? Do I want a Type 35 or this more? Like, which one would be a better deal?
Or do you want the $1,000 electric thingy?
the Changli Namika?
Changli Nameka.
Yeah, that's up there. Like,
Jalopnik keeps putting out videos on that thing, and it's hilarious. I
yeah,
have to watch
there's
them.
a
The autocross one just made me
there's
happy.
4 dumb purchases I want to make, and they're all electric cars. I really want to get a Changli Nameka. I want to get a Nobe. I want to get that baby Bugatti, and I also really want to get a Mitsubishi IMIF to put on a Mitsuoka like front end, and then do the Australian the Australian hot rodding stuff that they do on them.
That part I condone. I
Yes.
actually have a relevant thing for this conversation.
Okay, tell
I
me.
might be making a horrendously unuseful electric car purchase.
What are you making?
Nick Pappas, my friend, who is
Yes.
moving from awesome St. Paul to Cambridge,
Ew.
he's selling his
Did he knock
500D.
somebody up or something?
I don't think so.
Jesus, why would he do that?
I'm like, we're gonna pull shed. I'm like, yeah, you're also like 2 hours from civilization.
Yeah,
So.
you're gonna have a pull shed. There's gonna be a meth kitchen in there.
Anyway, nobody's buying 500Es in Minnesota right now, apparently. And he was talking to me about it. I'm like, dude, no one is buying anything right now. I was looking at that white one that's also for sale locally with more miles.
How much is that?
They want $5,500. I'm like, I bet that would take $4,700. Like, dude, I'd take that for mine. I'm like,
I wonder if I could walk up there. If I don't buy this Murata, I might buy that.
go buy the
$500
white
electric.
500E. It's only got 50,000 miles. And they've been asking $5,500 for it for over a month.
I would just walk up there with $4,000, call it a day.
They'll probably take 45, but they won't take less though. Which is still like the cheapest 500E in the country right now is what I paid for my gray one back in the day. It's $5,500. So I might do that and lease it to Corey for his commute. But anyway,
Well, I'm not gonna lie. Like that's honestly a 500E. Like I was saying that it might get a Fiat 500. It's either a 500E or an Abarth. So like there's no in between. I'm either getting the best fuel-y car or the best electric.
the NA ones are so good. They're such better city cars. The turning radius is like 2 feet shorter.
This is the thing though. Is
Get a 500E.
where
you live, get a 500E.
Yes, no, that I agree. The 500E, as far as getting a petrol car at this point,
Yes.
now that I don't effectively have a commute, buying a petrol car, I now want to get whatever the best variant is because.
So 500E.
Well, no, I mean
The best petrol variant of a 500 is a 500E.
yes, but
Powered by a gas generator.
instead of getting the car that's like this is the most.
I argue
fuel.
that the Abarth is not as good as the regular gasser to drive, not even close.
Yeah, I've driven both of them, and I see where you're coming from.
I think the non-turbo one you drove was a Pop C with an auto, though.
Yes, it was.
That's a hugely different car.
Well, so all right, this is my thing: is with petrol cars and internal combustion cars, there's only 15, 20 years in which we're going to be able to reasonably have those as daily drivers. And I'm kind of getting to a point where it's like, if I'm going to get one, I want to get the most ridiculous one I can. I want the one that doesn't have a muffler.
So get something pre-war.
Eventually, yes. But
No, just do that now.
I can't afford it.
Well, then keep driving the van.
Because if I get a pre-war car right now, it's going to be like a Plymouth. It's going to suck. Plymouth didn't get good until they started putting Hemis and everything.
We'll just put a Hemi in an old one.
That's a good point. Mm-hmm. We might do that.
Just keep driving your van until you can afford the real deal.
On that tremendous bombshell, thank you for listening.
We'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for listening.